Now welcome to another news from Naboo with Thor's lightning takes as always. And so let's get right to the news.
Alright, we're going to talk about Andor and something interesting that Disney Plus has decided to do. That they've not done before, to my knowledge or recollection.
I haven't done it before.
They're going to be putting their first 2 episodes of the series on TV over Thanksgiving. They're going to be airing episodes on ABC, FX, Freeform, as well as the streaming Hulu platform, which they also own, at various times and days. It's very interesting.
I don't want to say it reeks of desperation, but to be completely honest with you, it kind of does. It's like, I talked about this slightly on the other channel about the naming of Andor and all these things, but it does, it's like they know they have something really good, but nobody's watching it.
Well, no, what I find interesting, for the TV airings, it's going to be like an hour and a half to watch the 2 episodes. Hulu's going to have them available for 2 weeks. ABC will be showing them on Wednesday the 23rd, 9 to 10:30 Eastern. FX will be showing them on Thanksgiving, same time bracket. Freeform will be showing them on Friday, the 25th, same time bracket. Hulu will have it available for streaming between November 23rd and December 7th. Is very interesting, the timing, though. If they were desperate to get viewers, why not try and use a big title like Kenobi?
I don't think it's desperation for Disney Plus, per se. I think it's just this series.
Really? It's so weird to think that this series needs help. Honestly.
Well, it is, like we talk about, obviously, we talk about this all the time. I talk about it a ton on the other channel, too. It's not everybody's cup of tea, right, when it comes to Star Wars. I don't say that as someone who dislikes it. I say that as someone who's loving this tea. Mm-hmm. But I can acknowledge, like, a lot of people go into Star Wars and they're like, oh, I want to see lightsabers. And, hey, that you do you. If that's what you like about Star Wars, that's great. I love the intrigue of Andor. I'm so digging it. And I'm not saying if you don't like the intrigue of Andor, you're stupid or something. I'm not trying to, come off sounding like that. But certainly this isn't resonating with everybody. And I think it has a lot to do with people just not giving it a chance, too. I think the name Andor, which is what my video was about yesterday on the other channel, I think it holds it back. I think a lot of people hear that name and they're like, huh? What in the world is that?
Well, I think one of the things they could have done if they're trying to get this interest in Andor by, putting on TV, these are their channels. Why not release Rogue One onto them, too, for the limited time?
Well, I think...
Or play Rogue One before it or after it or something. So people go, oh, yeah, I remember this character, and then they watch the 2 episodes.
They could. I kind of like the idea. I threw out the idea of, like, a subtitle when they're doing this on regular, like, Andor, the Rise of the Rebellion, or Andor,
Hero of Rogue One, or something, just so people are, like, more people someone who don't know the Star Wars.
Yeah, someone had this just, like, call it Rogue Zero, and I'm like, yeah, do something to kind of relate it to that film that, oh, yeah, I really liked that one movie, so this is that character.
I liked The Dark Times, Rebellion Rising.
Anything like that. I think you need to do anything to just kind of market it to the people who just hear the name Andor and at best are like, Endor? Where the Ewoks were?
It's honestly, it's like when they released John Carter. They didn't put the full name of John Carter of Mars, and I think that was a detriment to it, because I thought the movie was enjoyable.
It's not the best movie ever, but it's enjoyable.
Enjoyable.
Sure. No, I think you have a similar case here where you went with a name that just doesn't resonate with a lot of people unless you know, and then you, of course, have the people who know Andor and are like, I don't care about that character.
Well, they just seem to like to name the Disney live-action shows, at least up until this point, or just seem to have a generic...
But they have a very generic...
character name.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Andor.
Yes, not very... let's be honest, Star Wars has always kind of used generic names, which is fine. It's not a complaint, but I think they needed to do something a little more spicy. They needed to do something a little more intriguing with this name.
It's not until we're going to get Acolyte and Skeleton Crew that we're getting things that aren't named after characters, because we've also have Ahsoka coming.
The Acolyte is named after, right? That is like...
Sort of, but it's not a character name.
Yeah, Skeleton Crew is named after multiple characters.
But how many interviews leading up to Andor did we hear, I hate the name, it's an ensemble piece. And it is an ensemble piece. Thing. It is not primarily about Andor. We've got at least 4 main characters, 5 main characters.
Yeah, and he's not... I think Diego Luna's doing fine. Andor's great in the show, but he is not the most interesting aspect of the series, you could argue.
But he, in a way, by being a spy and choosing that lifestyle, he is supposed to be a background player. Well, You're seeing him work from the background, which is clever.
Yeah, I think his story is kind of the foundation and the bedrock, and you see how him moving about the galaxy is having, an impact on the other key pieces or players of the series. So
Without him, do you think Kino Loy would have been able to stand up?
no, I mean without Andor going to prison,
Without him going to Aldhani, would that mission have succeeded?
Yeah, so you're seeing how Andor is, he's a big cog in the wheel, right?
He is a big cog.
So.
Sorry.
Huh.
Am I going to have to edit that out?
I don't know. Your choice. You want to edit that out.
I'm going to leave it. I'll leave the conversation to me asking if I should edit out the fact that I call him a big cog.
Anyway, yeah, I think what I want to believe behind closed doors is this is Disney and Lucasfilm saying, hey, I think the people who are watching this are really digging this series. We've already committed to a second season. So let's throw that out. Let's try to just cast a really wide net. We'll use a term from the show. Let's try to get some fish in. Or let's try to get some bites on this thing any way possible. Because we think we have some tasty bait here.
They're also putting this out there when people get together. People generally get together for Thanksgiving or to go Black Friday shopping. Or we're starting in that time of year when people start getting together with family, with friends to do things. And then they're putting on a show that somebody's like, hey, they're putting this on this show. You think it's any good? And somebody else can be like, I've seen it. This is awesome. This is a conversation piece for around the kitchen table or
Thanksgiving. I guarantee you, everybody at Thanksgiving for me, I'll be like, have you seen Andor? Well, you can watch it on ABC. Now, unfortunately, it's like the first 2 episodes, which I would say it should have been 3 for one, and because the first 2 are slower, right? They're not. They don't really immediately grab you in the way some shows are going to.
But if you're doing the word of mouth crowd and everyone is going, yeah, but you really need to watch the next episode.
Yeah.
Or maybe they think that's cliffhangery enough to go.
That's what they're hoping, no doubt.
People are going to want to see the next.
And if you got a free trial of Disney Plus, I think they probably give it free
they
Disney
do.
Plus trial. So by then the whole series will be out. You can sit there and binge the whole thing. That might be the best way to watch it, quite honestly.
Right. Get your trial run on those 2 episodes. If you like it, take that free trial and you can finish the whole series.
Yeah, I think this is, like I said, you could say it reeks of desperation, and in a way I think it does for Andor to kind of save this series and get it the viewership, but at the same time I think it's smart, because I do think they have a diamond in the rough, if you will, that not a lot of people are realizing.
So I'm distracted. It's snowing today.
Yeah, I don't know why that distracts you. It's done that every year for the last ever here in Wisconsin. But no, it is our first snowfall of the season, so...
Right,
I guess that's exciting.
It is. Let's move on to our next little piece here I wanted to kind of speculate on today. Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy went to Japan. I know, that's like, wow, they're taking trips together?
Wow, wait a minute.
No, it's nothing like that.
No, God, no. Please, no.
Well, we found out that they met with the Star Wars Resistance executive producer, the president and CEO of Polygon Pictures, and executive producer on Star Wars Resistance. Sat down with them. Which is interesting. Last week on Monday, Dave Filoni went out with him and they hung out in the otaku-oriented part of Tokyo. They went shopping, dined, signed autographed art, and then later had a meeting with Kathleen Kennedy, who was also there. I'll put the tweet up. It roughly translates to, today I spent half a day with Dave walking around the geek side of Tokyo, from Nakato Broadway to Godzilla store in Shinjuku, then visit Polygon. All routes by train or bus. Then in the evening, I was invited to dinner by Kathleen Kennedy, who came to Japan today, at a 5-star hotel in Roppongi. It was a gap-heavy day. So they're in Japan. They're talking to the people who did Resistance. I hated Resistance.
Talk to them. Resistance wasn't very good. I
don't like the CGI anime style. It's not for me.
No, it felt
Other people can like it. I don't.
Yeah, like I've said before, Clone Wars was, we kind of perfected Clone Wars there at the end, and then Rebels was kind of in terms of animation, was kind of a downgrade, and then it felt like Resistance was a downgrade from
Resistance was like, what the heck are you?
Yeah, and they kind of called it anime-inspired, and that was...
Most people wouldn't look at that and say anime-inspired.
No, they would say as cheap as we can make it.
But then, continuing on the vein of this story... Dave and Kathy also met with the 9th Jedi creators at Production IG. First they met with the Resistance crew, and now they came over to talk to the people behind the Star Wars Vision's 9th Jedi? What?
Well, that was... that and the Village Bride were my 2 favorite from the first season.
I can definitely tell you those are my 2 favorite.
There were some others that were really good, too. They were all solid, at the very least.
Honestly... it's hard to compare them because they were all good.
Yes.
Some were just a little more favorable in terms of what I liked than others.
Yeah, none of them were bad,
None of them were
especially
bad.
as objectively as you can get. But subjectively, I enjoyed more than others, obviously.
Obviously. Filoni even left an illustration of Ahsoka and Grogu behind, as he and Kennedy apparently autographed a portion of the wall.
He goes.
Well, it's on the wall, too.
He probably just hands out Ahsoka.
A fan took a picture when they visited the studio, so I've probably got that up there for you. I mean, it's just so interesting because this is clearly a business trip to Japan.
Yes.
Talking with 2 different studios that have been involved in Star Wars. I mean, the director of The 9th Jedi, Kenji Kamiyama, described his short film, The 9th Jedi, as a pilot episode of sorts, you know.
It is. It
setting
leaves
the
you
stage
like,
for
hey, we're off
continuation.
to, we're off to save the galaxy.
I would love it if they'd follow that up, even if they just do a part 2, I guess. But I want them to make a full series of this. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's
Branded
definitely
as
something
Legends
in
and
the...
Let's Go.
I don't even know what you brand it as, because it does have the... I mean, there were some weird things with the lightsabers changing colors and stuff that maybe don't fit extremely well.
Only one lightsaber changed colors.
I know, which it was
special.
cool in the show. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's bad in that particular instance, but it's something that I'm like, oh, that's a weird thing to put into the canon, even though we have bleeding lightsabers and all kinds of stuff
one
now. Anyway.
One was colorless and the other one changed color.
Yeah, so basically my point is, like, there wasn't anything in there that I'm like, well, that didn't really fit into what I would call future Star Wars canon, because it is set in the future. It's like, this would work. This is an interesting premise for a whole kind of new time period.
Yeah, I mean, production IG, they're a little busy at the moment. They are working on that anime film that is coming. The New Line Cinema's producing it, The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. It's in post-production right now. It's supposed to come out next year. Then they're totally free, I'm imagining,
to make a 9th Jedi series. Maybe it's a film. Maybe
the
it's
9th Jedi, the film.
Maybe it's more shorts. Maybe it's a series. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe they're just having a vacation.
No. Well, have a vacation and then just, like, pop in and have a meeting. Hanging out with Dave in Roppongi and...
I mean, it could be that they wanted to pitch something that Lucasfilm was, you know... Who knows? I don't want to... I'll speculate to the point where clearly somebody is pitching something to somebody, or there's some kind of...
There's definitely some sort of a pitch
which
happening.
way it's going, if it's already kind of a set in stone, but we got to hammer out some details or do some handshakes, whatever it is, I don't know, but clearly...
I feel like this is more of Kathleen Kennedy and Dave set up a meeting with those 2 studios.
Yeah. It's too random to be random.
Exactly.
That's going to be my new
It
sign
would just
for
be like,
everything,
well, this studio found out that they're inviting Dave and Kathy over, and he's like, we can get them too. Why would the studios probably wouldn't communicate that way?
Yeah.
So it makes more sense that Lucasfilm Star Wars is approaching those 2 studios.
Could be. I hope so. I would love to see more.
Resistance Season 2.
What?
No!
You mean season 3? Yes. Don't forget there was a season 2.
That was
13 episodes long. It was intended to be only 2 seasons. There's no tomfoolery there. No cancellation.
tomfoolery.
No anything. That was always intended to just be 1.5 seasons, essentially.
It was garbage.
It wasn't very good. Hey, if you as I always say, if you liked it, just ignore me. Enjoy what you want, but I was not a huge fan, and neither was Naboo.
The art
clearly.
style killed it for me, honestly. I could barely pay attention to what the story was doing when the art was just that bad.
It was like 2 ideas kind of clumped into one. It was like, is this going to be like this weird racing league? Which I don't think would have been weird if you embraced the racing league thing. Or is this going to be like a spy thing? And it kind of put them together, and it ended up just not working.
And they, again, picked a low, like a character who like doesn't do well as a spy.
Yeah, they picked Jar Jar Binks' like spiritual successor. I don't know why. I mean, I get it's for younger audience. Well, it was kind of true, right? He was just always klutzy and clumsy.
He was always klutzy, yeah.
I
couldn't be a spy. He's too horrible at it.
Yes. And yet he's
clearly
perfect,
yeah.
It's too random to be random. All right, well, that is, I think, all we got for you this time. So take to the comments below. Tell us what you think about Andor being put on TV, essentially. Do you think this is, like I said, kind of desperation that they really know they have something and they want people to watch it, and, of course, to subscribe to Disney+. And what do you think about the 9th Jedi getting a series or an animated movie or something continuing on?
You know what the answer to that will be.
I think when we did
Resistance Studio.
Yeah, I think when we did our reviews of that, a lot of people could, agreed it was one of the better ones. Now, not everybody watched Visions, but if you haven't, at least go watch like that one. That one was really good. Give it a shot, and maybe you'll want to watch the other ones. Who knows? Anyway, leave your comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars, and until next time, thanks for watching.